I think that sometimes we enter in a relationship thinking that our partner's always going to remain the same, like the same as when we began our relationship. And although I think sometimes it sounds a little scary, I think it's actually a good thing that we change. It's something really good. I hope that we're changing over time. I hope that I'm not the same person that I was when I was 16 or 20 or 30. If I haven't grown and learned and changed, there's a big problem. And the same thing with my partner, my spouse. Now, that being said, sometimes we have to remember what it was that attracted us to our partner in the first place. What was it deep down? And maybe it was something, superficial at first. But if I solely fell in love with the looks of my partner, the fact that they loved a particular hobby, that they had a particular job or one particular belief, that's a really sandy foundation. And those things are going to change. Those things should probably change. And if we take a look at ourselves, hopefully those are some of the things that have changed in us as well. And it's important to remember that those things aren't the things that make us us. And they're also not the things that make our partners our partners. Those are just part of us, identities that we've put on and that are things that we enjoy and maybe that help us find our true selves. They're just things that we've been given. What we need to remember is not this sandy foundation that attracted us to our partner, but our concrete ones. What are the things about the person that attracted us to them in the first place? Was it their kindness, their humor, the way that they interacted with their families, their patience, their compassion? We can make a list a mile long. But these are the things that often we have to keep coming back to in our partners or in ourselves. And we have to remember that the other things are things that just help them to be these more concrete things. Often when we enter into a relationship, we tend to lose our identities, and we tend to begin to think that we have an image or a habit or a hobby that we have to keep up in order for our partner, our spouse, to love us, to continue to care about us. And that becomes exhausting. And if a relationship goes on for a really long time, it's becomes something that's harder and harder to manage, and an image that we can't keep track of, and then we begin to lose a part of ourselves in that relationships. I know, just as an example, for moms, often I hear from women that are moms that often our whole identity becomes wrapped up in our lives of our children, which is really important. We should be involved in the lives of our children, but often we can get lost in there. And maybe that happens for dads too. I don't have that perspective. Maybe, on the other hand, you've found that your identity is wrapped up solely in your job, in your career, in caring for a sick parent, maybe in a particular hobby, that those are the things that have begun to identify you. But remembering that those are also things that could change. And so what is it, that one thing that keeps you grounded at who you are? Something that we were told, my husband and I, a long time ago, was the difference between the I's and the we's, and that these are things that we have to keep really in balance. It's really important to know what your I's are. So what is important to you? Who are you at your core outside of all these things that we put on? But what are things that make you, that encourage these things and help to cultivate the I's within you, the things that make you you? Is it being involved in your kids' lives? Is it spending time with friends? Is it a hobby? Is it a friendship? Is it a goal? Things that help you to be your best self, help you to reflect, help you to become better people, help you to maintain your individual identity outside of your relationship with your partner. We need to encourage I's in our relationship, support the I's in our partners, and cultivate the I's within ourselves, because these things help us grow as individuals. They help us become content. They help us be grounded individuals. They help us learn more about ourselves to find satisfaction and fulfillment in our lives. Then there are the we's. So those are the I's, but there's also we's. And the we's are the things that you do with your partner, things that you enjoy doing together, that do the same thing together. They cultivate your relationship and bind you closer together. And often we forget the we's. Sometimes we get so lost in the I's and the things that I need and I want that we forget to do something that cultivates our relationship. Like sometimes we have plenty of I's often, right? We can say, I like to play tennis, which I don't, that's just an example, or pickleball or whatever. I'm involved with the kids at school. I like to cook. I like to go out with my friends. But when we look closer, we begin to realize that there's nothing we can say as a couple, as partners, that we do together. Our relationship gets so full of I's that we don't have room for we's. And it's important to take time to find time to cultivate those we's. It can be something as big as travel, planning a trip together. Maybe plan it right now, but don't go, right? It can be something as, learn something new, ballroom dancing, find a YouTube video, a master class that you take together. It could be something as simple as watching a show together that you watch once a week, and you talk about, or a coffee break, or a walk that you take. Maybe right now it's a scheduled Zoom call in different rooms. It can really be anything. Just making time to have we time together so that you can say, I like to do this and we like to do that. When we get our I's and our we's out of balance, then often our relationship feels out of balance. If we focus too much on the I's, we forget the we's, we drift apart in our relationships. When we focus only on the we's, then we lose ourselves in the relationship and we forget what we need as individuals. It's really important that if we don't breed both of these things, that it can bring about anger and resentment because we don't feel supported or listened to, like our feelings don't matter in our eyes. But when we lose the we's, we don't feel like we have anything in common. We don't have anything that we can grasp onto. So it's really important that we take the time to maybe make a list of the things that make us I's. Either this is done on a piece of paper, maybe it's done on your phone, maybe it's done in your mind, but things that make you you and help you to be the best version of yourself. Make a list of the I's, things that you like to do and things that make it important. And have your partner do that same thing. And then maybe compare both of those things and say, how can I be supportive of your I's? And how can they be supportive of your I's? And that requires a conversation, which can be really hard and really awkward. But it's really important to be vulnerable and to talk about those things and to see how you can support the other person. And then it's important to say, well, what are the we's that we have? Do we have any we's? And if we don't, let's find some we's that we want to do together. And sometimes that's a little give and take, right? Maybe there's nothing that you like to do together. So find something in the neutral zone that you can start with, that you're both willing to try. And in your relationship, that's going to be a little bit different too. Maybe not all the time. You don't need to make a schedule every single week that says, Mondays at 2:00, that's mine. Maybe that works for you in your relationship. Maybe just the way the world is right now and the way that your world works. Some weeks it's a little bit more of one eye and some weeks it's a little less of one eye. But always trying to find those we's and being supportive of the I's and the other person is incredibly important. And when we have those things in balance, when we have the we's and the I's in balance, then we feel more balanced, we feel more heard, we feel more loved, and so does our partner. And it really helps our relationships.